We'd like to give a special shout out to the following people for making this episode and the rest of Act 3 possible: Louis, Malaya, Reg, Daniel Athern, Osterkim, Vanna, Finch, Dr. Dan Venning, Sleepless Berry, Court, Rogue Canoe, John and Muna, Sadie, Zay the Great, Elliot Kane, and Trident. Thank you for your support. Maraming salamat. You're listening to Hainai by Motzie Dapul. Episode 61. Akit.
Hi, DJ. I remember when you talked about the Young Will game one time on your show, and I wanted to share my own weird experience with that game. It's strange to talk about it now. A little embarrassing, really, but you feel it too, right? More people reporting their own experiences. A lot of them finding your podcast, finding shows like yours. Some of them calling into the stations. What happened to me felt like a secret for so long. Something I couldn't share, or else everyone would think I'm crazy. But now, the world's getting a little crazy too. And I wanted to share this, in case other people went through the same thing. I want to know how to stop being scared, I guess. But first, I wanted to thank you, DJ. If you hadn't shared your story, I never would have had the goal to share mine. So, thank you. I have to start from the beginning, of course. But there's not a lot to the middle of this story. It's sort of just the start, then nothing for years, then the end. I promise it'll make sense. I just want to manage everyone's expectations. So, when I was a kid, I grew up in Toronto. Didn't live here for a while when I was a teen, up until my early 20s, but I did come back, eventually. As a kid, I was desperate to belong, even if I was just different enough to feel off about it. I wasn't unpopular or anything, but only because there weren't many other British kids in my class. I was still a weirdo, but not ostracised. Small victories and all that, and it was better to be a novelty than a nobody. So, when I got invited to my first sleepover, with boys and girls, it felt like the most important thing to ever happen to 11-year-old me. So damn special. And same as you, we played those little games, told scary stories. And when it came time to play Young Will, I was terrified. Thinking about it now, I'm pretty sure I was on the verge of a panic attack when they shut me into that bathroom. I had an active imagination back then, and just the idea of a man on fire scared the Christ out of me. So when I started the chant, following the words from my friends outside the door, I could barely finish the last word. I whispered fire under my breath as I looked in the mirror, with the candle in my hand. And I thought I saw an eye in the darkness. And I didn't scream. But God, I was petrified. Couldn't move. Couldn't speak. Just froze as the eye became a face with two hands covering their entirety, with only the eye visible between his fingers, and the feather-light hair falling over them as he wept. And when he showed me his face, his hair began to catch fire, and he looked enraged. Silently, I locked eyes with this man in the mirror. And it might seem strange, DJ, but when I saw his face, it felt like a lifetime, even if it was only a few seconds. A few seconds before the fire began to burn his skin, the flesh bubbling, bursting, rendering fat off the bleeding muscle and sinew. His eyes melting out of his skull and his lips curling back off his teeth. His hair lighting up like fire itself, his wretched expression turning into a grin before even his bones began to char and burn. But in those few seconds, I thought, DJ, I thought he was beautiful. The most beautiful man, the most beautiful person I'd ever seen. And before he burned away, all I wanted to do was reach out and touch him, comfort him, embrace him. Tell him everything would be okay. When I got out of that bathroom, everyone seemed disappointed I hadn't screamed or something. Obviously half the fun is getting kids scared, and maybe holding the door closed if they tried to get out. But they said I smelled like fire. And I said I saw him. But he didn't scare me, really. And I don't know. He seemed disturbed by that. I tried to call him again later, alone in my bathroom, at other places when that didn't work. I held a candle, said the words, but he never came. I asked people about it sometimes. Friends, schoolmates, even asked some teachers and other grown-ups if they knew about the game. Never too much, of course. Didn't want to seem like a weirdo. Some saw him, some didn't. I couldn't figure out what the difference was, nor could I figure out who was telling the truth. Best I could do was look it up online, but there wasn't much to find back then. Just an old blog post or two. I did learn what the rhyme was based on. Some kind of historical figure, or his son. Young William had a lover, who sang a lovely song. His body had a cover, and William's night grew long. His father bade him stay a while, but William was a liar. And when the ward went up in flames, he lost young Will to fire. The rhyme. Young Will. He lost someone he loved. No wonder he looked so sad. I wonder if that was all he lost. I mean, he had a father, didn't he? I'm a father too. I can't imagine what it must have been like to lose a child. Sorry, I'm jumping ahead. My search didn't really go anywhere, and I moved away from Toronto for a few years, back to the UK. Nobody really knows about young Will over there, even though I did try, just once, to summon him, my first night. I like to pretend I forgot about it for a while, but I dreamt about him. Sometimes the way I saw him, flesh boiling, burning away. But mostly I dreamt about how he was, before that. For a while, I wondered how much I was making up in my head. Did I imagine his pale blonde hair, almost white, in the candlelight? Did I imagine his ice blue eyes staring stark in the darkness? I know what I did imagine, though. I know I imagined walking through a garden, finding him under a tree, having him smile at me with those gentle lips, almost as pale as the rest of him, like blood wasn't circulating quite properly throughout his face. He waved me over, looked delighted that I was there. I had that dream a few times. I think he might have thought I was someone else. In those dreams, I knew that I loved him, even if that didn't make sense when I woke up. Eventually, I returned to Toronto. He was still the first thing I thought of when I landed, but I didn't try to summon him again. I met someone, and we were married soon enough, and before I knew it, we had a child, my daughter. She turned 11 recently. She's always been a happy kid, but me and my wife, we started noticing signs that something was going on with her. She wasn't sleeping. She seemed nervous around the house and kept the lights on in her room at night. She never had night terrors when she was younger, so I wondered if she was having them now. I tried to talk to her about it, but she didn't want to tell me anything. Asked my wife if she'd said something to her, and she didn't really know what to do about it either. It wasn't until I saw the candle in her room that I had an inkling. Over breakfast I asked her if she'd ever heard of the old game we used to play back in the day. Young Will. She couldn't hide her flinch. Almost looked guilty, though I couldn't fathom why. I asked her if she saw him when her mother was in the other room. She said she couldn't stop seeing him. Said that after the first time she called him, his blue eyes kept staring at her from within the darkened bathroom, unless she kept the lights on all night. She said that he looked so angry, and that scared her just as much as seeing the anger slough away from his face with his skin. She kept apologising when she told me, like she'd done something wrong. Said that it was silly, that her imagination was running wild and keeping her awake and affecting school, and that she was sorry she couldn't just shake it off. I don't think she expected me to look her dead in the eye and say that it wasn't her imagination at all, that it was all real, but that he wouldn't hurt her, that his anger wasn't for her. I never told anyone about what I experienced. I never told my wife about my dreams, and I never told my daughter about the game. It wasn't that I ever forgot about him. I just never thought he'd come back into my life this way, after I'd searched for him for so long, and he never showed himself. Now he was showing himself to my daughter. Was it just a coincidence, or... That night, I picked up the candle from my daughter's shelf and lit it. I stood in the bathroom, closed the door, and said the rhyme that I'd never forgotten. My daughter stood outside the door, waiting for something to happen, but nothing did. When I stepped out, she looked just a little devastated, saying she wasn't crazy, saying she wasn't lying. But I hugged her and told her I didn't think that at all. Still, I apologised. I needed her to do something alone. I needed her to do it, because it wouldn't work for me. She looked terrified but asked if I would stay right outside the door, if I wouldn't leave. I promised her I wouldn't. It didn't stop her from being scared, but she took the candle anyway. Closed the door. I wouldn't hold it shut like the kids did when I was her age, but I stood by, listening, and I heard her start the chant. Then I heard it. A gasp, small cry. And I opened the door, took my little girl into my arms and held her, hid her face as the figure before me burned. "I'm sorry," I said, and I meant it for both of them. "I'm so sorry." And he looked at me, even as his eyes melted out of the sockets. He said something, or tried to anyway. Hard to make words when you don't have lips to shape them. All I could do in that moment was reach out with a hand, unafraid, even while my daughter was terrified, hiding her face in my shoulder. And what was left of young Will, before the sinew that held his bones together burst and snapped and melted away, reached out too, touched my hand with fingers whose little skin was like melting wax, whose bones pricked into my palm. Still, I held him, held his hand tight like I held my daughter tight, loving them both with all my heart. I don't know if I imagined it, because I know his hand burned me that night, even if I weathered the pain at the time. I think I felt him squeeze my hand back, before even that burned away, and left me and my daughter alone in her room, with only the flickering candle for light. After that, I told my daughter what she and I both saw. That he was sad. That he missed the people he loved. That what anger he had in his heart wasn't for us. I didn't tell her how I felt about him, but she seemed to understand the sadness. Knowing that she wasn't crazy, knowing that it was real, I think, helped her more than anything. Because she saw the bandage on my hand after that night. She saw the burns on my palm that never quite went away. She knew that it was real. And she knew that she could trust me when I said she didn't need to fear him. She was able to sleep soundly after that, though I remember finding a drawing she'd made a few days later. It captured the sadness on his face just a little too well. I suppose there's nothing wrong with a good ghost story, but I wanted to share this, in case someone else was going through what my daughter went through. What I went through before I saw young Will for the first time. I know he's real. I know he's terrifying, especially his rage. But despite all that, it's hard not to see his sadness, to understand it just from the words alone. And when you start to see that sadness, it's hard to be afraid of him. And he doesn't show back up again when you're not afraid.
Okay. Rest well. Tell CJ... Well, just make sure she's okay, I guess. Thank you again. Look... Talk soon.
You okay?
Mm.
Good sign. Here.
Is this your new way of solving everyone else's problems?
No. Ashvin's allergic to cats.
Which solves your problem.
You said it, not me.
I don't know how you tricked everyone into thinking you're a serious person, Mahal.
What did you call it? Resting anger face?
Better than what Murphy calls it.
So, what's wrong?
Other than everything?
I've seen you handle everything. This is something else.
Okay, detective. It's not important. I mean, not in the grand scheme of things, but I think there's something up with Laura. And I think it has something to do with me, but I don't know what I did, but she's being... Well, I mean, she's being supportive as always, but yesterday she said something about having no choice but to help me, and I feel like I somehow made her feel obligated to help me even though she isn't, and... Did she say anything to you?
No, but, I think I know what it's about. And it's not anything you did.
Wait. What do you know? Is she okay? Is anything wrong?
No. I mean, other than everything, no.
Then what's going on?
It's not my place to say. You'd have to talk to her about it.
I've tried, but she keeps avoiding the subject.
I'm sorry. But, if it means anything, I promise it isn't bad. Just something to talk about when you both get the chance.
Whenever that'll happen. Who knows how tomorrow will go? We got lucky with Marianne, but I don't know how powerful young Will's ghost is. You remember the hanging ghost from the Christie house, or Reznikov? Even if they're not souls, if there's a legend behind them, they have presence.
Which is why you shouldn't go alone.
I'm not gonna be alone. I'll be with Cornelius.
You understand how that doesn't make me feel any better, right?
He won't meet me if I bring another person, so...
Listen, just take Pocket with you at least.
I don't need...
For my peace of mind then, if nothing else. I know you don't need her, but she's got me out of tough spots before. Maybe if none of us can be there to watch her back... Well, she's not exactly another person, so Cornelius can't take offense.
Fine. Wait. What kind of tough spots?
Well...
You're listening to Hainai by Motzie Dapul.
Hey everyone, this is Motzie, creator of the Hainai podcast. Hainai is a podcast produced by myself, Yoi Halago, and Alyssa Jimenez, and co-created by Reg Helly, and licensed under Creative Commons Attribution Non-Commercial Share-alike 4.0 International License. This episode was co-produced by Jesse Goodsell, and written and directed by Motzie Dapul, who also plays the role of Mary Datuin. The role of Donner is played by Leon Johnson, featuring Shaunn Pellington as the man who fell in love with a ghost. If you'd like to chat with other listeners when episodes go live, we do a live premiere 3 times a month on Sundays at 9 p.m. EST or Toronto time on our YouTube channel, youtube.com/HainaiPod. To help support the production of Hainai, you can subscribe to our Patreon, patreon.com/HainaiPod. You'll get to listen to episodes ad-free and get to be part of our early access program, where episodes are released 3 days early on Thursday at 9 p.m. EST or Toronto time. You can also get bonus audio, art, video, and much more. Speaking of Patreon, we'd love to give a shout out to the following patrons for all their amazing support: Kathy S., Didi Chenuk, Johnny Demented, Maya B., Chandra, Adge W., Tony Baloney, Nay, Boyo, Phoenix Luna, Kate Jordan, Tiana Harvey, Drekukard, Sabine, Ben, Shaunn, Josh the Alchemist, Jess Snow, Maddie Remigio, Talon, Nunette Dapul, Mika, Matthew Upton, Anna, Sooks, Becca Terrier, Amelia Brownstein, Diana Cos, Melissa, Emma Heilig, Faye Fungi, Pablo Neurotic, Oscar Kim, Evie Smith, Megan, Jesse Goodsell, Malaya Light, and Victoria Goodwin. If you can't subscribe monthly, you also have the option to buy us some milk tea on Ko-fi, ko-fi.com/HinaiPod, HINAYPOD. You can even buy ad-free episodes over there if you purchase our Hainai album, which has the ad-free, credits-free version of our episodes from Act 1 and 2. You also get this album for free as a patron. Check out our website, HinaiPod.com, for more news and updates. And don't forget to follow us on all socials, on Twitter, Tumblr, Instagram, Facebook, and now Blue Sky. Hainai is available on Acast and wherever you listen to podcasts. We hope you enjoy our Act 3 episodes. And as always, thank you, we love you, and hanggang sa muli.